Hey there, friends and enemies. Joper here again, and today I want to talk about Dan Heng in Honkai Star Rail, a character I think might be a little underrated. He's been my primary DPS since I started the game, and I've been using him to carry me through all types of different content with this build and team composition that I've assembled. I wanted to go over all that, kind of what he does, what he specializes in, and why I think he's better than people think. So, a couple quick caveats here. One, I was able to get a 5-star light cone for him. This is Seely's light cone in the night. It's got the ability Flowers and Butterflies, increases the wearer's crit rate by 18%. That's huge, and I'll explain why in a second. While the wearer is in battle, for every 10 speed that exceeds 100, the damage of the wearer's basic attack and skill is increased by 6%, and the crit damage of their ultimate is increased by 12%. So obviously this is a character who's really going to want high crit rate and crit damage, and so this provides that and is very, very nice from the jump. And so why crit rate is so important is his skill it deals wind damage, but also on a critical hit, there's a 100% base chance to reduce the target's speed by 12% for 2 turns. And his ultimate is really based around slowing enemies. So Ethereal Dream deals wind damage equal to 288% of Dan Heng's attack. If the enemy is slowed, the ultimate's damage multiplier is increased by 86%. So you really want to be focusing his ultimate when the enemy is slowed. Now, early on in the game, before you have perfect relics, before you're able to build super high crit rate, you want to focus on crit rate, crit damage, and speed for him, by the way. As you're building him out, you're not going to get slow all the time. I was able to get Welt. Welt is a character who I really love as a support, and his abilities really synergize with what you want to do on Dan Heng. So for him, he's got a skill that actually slows enemies as well. And so essentially, if you don't slow them with Dan Heng, you can slow them with Welt and then use his ultimate at that point. So you're really going to want to pay attention to when you see the slow marker pop up, because once you see them slowed, that's when you want to use his ultimate. Otherwise, you'll be wasting his ultimate and just not really doing as much damage as you potentially could be. But if you time it right and you get it down really well, you're going to see much bigger numbers overall with his DPS. Now, the rest of my team is going to be Bailu, who I was also fortunate enough to get as another one of my 5 stars. She is going to be my healer. And then I also have the Fire Trailblazer, who is going to provide shields and stuff. Essentially, Dan Heng is a bit squishy, so you're going to want to keep him alive as often as possible. And having shields, having healers, all of that really helps out. And plus, you have a diversity of effect types, so keep that in mind. Now, one thing to keep in mind, you don't really on Dan Heng need to build the effect hit rate as high as you might on other characters, just because, like I said, with his skill, he's got a 100% chance to reduce the target's speed. You really need to be focusing on crit rate and crit damage as well as speed on him if you have this light cone. If you kind of really focus on those ones, then you can really maximize the damage. As far as the relics goes, that means you can either use the Eagle's Beaked Helmet, the Eagle of Twilight Line. This is going to increase wind damage with the 2-piece, and then after the wearer uses their ultimate, their action is advanced forward by 25%. That is a good one, a good set for him. As long as you're getting the substats of crit damage, crit rate, and speed. Break effect obviously is nice. Attack percent, all that kind of stuff is nice as well. But that's a possibility. But if you really want to lead into the speed, you could also use the Musketeer of Wild Wheat set. This is going to give him an attack increase by 12% of the 2-piece. And then the 4-piece, the wear speed, increases by 6%. And base attack damage is increased by 10%. Why I don't love this set as much and why I prefer the wind set is that its basic attack damage increases by 10%. And you really don't want to use his basic attack all that often because you're not going to be inflicting slow on enemies with that. So for that reason, I don't like that set as much. I feel like the wind set with the right substats is going to be better. But you really have to look at what the substats are to determine which of those relic sets is going to be better for your Dan Heng. For me personally, I am rocking the Eagle of Twilight Line. Again, not perfect artifacts at this point in the game. I'm going to be farming a lot to get better sets, but for now, they're doing the job, and performing really, really well. So ultimately, that's kind of how I've built the team. Why Dan Heng has been so good for me is that without Sealy, there isn't another primary DPS that I enjoy using and that have been able to synergize in the team as well as him, right? Welt is almost like a perfect combination for Dan Heng, and it just makes a lot of the battles very simple because essentially I am slowing enemies constantly. I am trapping enemies with Welt as well. And so I'm getting so many turns that even if it seems like the battle is taking a little bit longer because of maybe not doing as much damage as Sealy, I'm able to slow so many enemies and get so many more attacks in that I just can continue to go without ever having to worry about my team getting wiped or dying or anything like that. So it's worked out very, very well for me. The damage chunking has been very fun to watch as it's increased. I've been playing him, like I said, from the beginning of the game, and he's just gotten better and better. That 5-star light cone obviously makes a huge difference. And then as far as my traces go, I really have not worried about his basic attack. I've been focused on his ultimate and his skill, as well as his talent. So the his talent is kind of nice as well. When Dan Heng is the target of an ally's ability, his next attack's win res pen increases by 23%. This effect can be triggered again after 2 turns. And because of the constant shielding and healing from the rest of my team, it kind of synergizes really well with that talent also. So I'm constantly proccing that every 2 turns as it's able to. Overall, I've been enjoying this team comp. I've been enjoying the game. I apologize that the content that you're seeing is not higher level. I had some more footage that I wanted to use instead. Unfortunately, the file got corrupted and I lost it. So that kind of set me back a little bit. So apologies for that. I was able to beat the the Simulation World 5 under leveled with this team. No problem. And I know from what I've heard, a lot of people have been having problems with that boss. Whereas with this team composition, fire, we've got the wind, and then also the welt with the imaginary. It was a perfect combination to take that shield down very, very quickly, beat that boss, and not have to worry about it. So apologies for not having that footage. I think it would have been a lot cooler, but that is the break sometimes with content creation. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out tremendously. Shows you want to see more Honkai Star Rail content from me going forward. I can talk about my welt build, the other team compositions that I'm going to be using. Let me know in the comments down below what you'd like to see next. My name is Jopa. I hope you have a good one. I'll catch you all later.